Hey there, welcome back to Total Geek Live. We are here with, our Total Geek Live crew. We got Danny, we got Guy, we got Kaiser, and we got Carol Danvers.
Woohoo! Vez!
Whole lot of Carol Danvers.
Is her butt as flat on the figure as it is in the movie?
Oh no.
Sorry, I shouldn't. Now I'm going to be one of those white men that she hates because I commented on her body.
No, white dudes. Remember, it's white dudes.
So we are here to review Captain Marvel, the movie that just came out. We have some thoughts on it. We have some interesting ideas about the movie, and I think we're just gonna hop into it. We'll do a little spoiler free at the beginning, just to kind of break us in all together, and then we'll dive deep into Captain Marvel movie.
That's right.
So take it away, Danny, with your mighty Captain Marvel shirt.
Right. So got spoiler-free logo up here, boop, 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 right there, and yeah, I'm sporting it. Nice $8 shirt at Walmart. So if you get and find your local Walmart and you dig in the shirt,
We're not a sponsor.
go. Yeah. Hashtag not a sponsor. But yeah, overall, I was generally pleased with the movie. There were a couple of things that I was, had worse. Like
Yeah.
I wish they would have gone a different direction with certain things, but overall, it was an enjoyable experience. It pretty much just met my expectations. I was just glad to finally see Captain Marvel on the big screen and representing. I felt the effects were great. A lot of the dialogue was fun. Plot lines pretty good, and I plotted along exactly. I mean, there was so many like Easter egg things, and and of course the intro. We're keeping it spoiler free. We'll talk about it in the spoilers, but that Marvel intro at the beginning was woof.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Different, new, and timely.
Gotcha. It was very, very, very nice, and then later on in the movie, getting to see the Stan Lee cameo and all good there. So yeah, I think it was definitely everything that Marvel has done besides Thor 2 is better. Thor 2 is like the worst. It's
What about Iron Man 2?
it's just
Or
right,
Iron Man 3.
right. No, for me, it's Thor 2, then Iron Man 3, and then Iron Man 2. But Thor 2 was
Okay.
that's the bottom.
Yeah,
bottom for me.
I definitely agree with you. Thor 2 was pretty bad misstep, but
But Thor 1, I love. Thor 1 and the first Captain America 2.
Oh yeah, those are way up there. So I think where does Captain Marvel kind of fall in line is it's pretty much kind of right in the middle for me. Because I mean nothing, things are really hard to top the Avengers films themselves because of the ensembleness and all of that. But it's as a solo character origin story kind of thing. It's in the mid levels there, but high.
Yeah,
Sure.
I came from. I really have never read the character. The scrolls I've only seen,
Mm-hmm.
here and there mentioned in like a Fantastic comic here and on a cartoon there or in the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games and stuff. So it was all very new to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought they did a pretty good job. I couldn't tell you how accurate to the comics it was. I really enjoyed Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. I loved her playful charm that she brought to the role. She which but also serious, also like she was powerful and demanding when needed. She was lighthearted and playful in the moments that didn't feel too forced. It was maybe a little too much of it, a little too playful, but that's an overall MCU tonal
Yeah.
gripe,
so
She was just doing what she was told, but I think she did what the directors envisioned very well. I'm trying to think. There's a couple of little things, but we'll get when we get into spoilers. But overall, I'm glad I went and saw it. I don't get to the theater as much as I used to, but I am definitely glad I got to put my $9 in the 1.5 billion bundle that it is right now.
Just don't buy the small Coke at your theater. God, it's super. Like doll cup glasses.
Yeah,
It's
so
like,
no.
like, is that a small? Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
So here you go. Boop. No, wait. Grab the wrong thing. Here's your small.
I don't even know what that is. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it was a can of
That's pineapple juice.
Dole pineapple juice. Not a sponsor.
Hashtag.
But,
Sorry, Dole. Captain Marvel and Dole together at last.
Hey, I saw freaking R2-D2 on heads of lettuce when the last Star Wars movie came out. They are not beyond sticking Captain Marvel on a pineapple.
That's all for all those George Lucas salad unboxing.
Well, guys, let's hear your little thoughts.
So overall, I thought Captain Marvel was pretty good. I liked it. I'm like John. I'm not too entirely familiar with Captain Marvel's backstory. My biggest thing is I remember that Rogue stole her powers and most of her personality, and that's pretty much where I knew Captain Marvel from.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was fun. I thought it was interesting that they went back to the '90s and they did a pretty good job of really capturing that whole theme from Blockbuster to Street Fighter 2 to the music, and I felt that really played out really well. There were a couple things that I don't know. In some ways, it almost like when it started out, it almost felt like a sequel to something that I felt like I should have known some of the backstory to. But at the same time, there was also um, after so many years of just getting into straight full-on Marvel stories where you kind of know everything, it was a little weird going into something unfamiliar and also kind of back to an origin story, which again, phase 1 through 3 is about to wrap up, but it makes sense. And it was a little tonally different, and it's something I kind of had to get used to again in a Marvel movie because when was the last origin story really for a
Black
Marvel?
Doctor Strange.
Panther?
Oh,
Black Panther or Doctor Strange? Well, Black Panther was introduced kind of in
Civil War. Maybe Doctor Strange, because they didn't do it with Spider-Man. I'm trying to think.
It would be Doctor Strange, I think.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
full on, yeah.
Yeah, I think Doctor Strange was the last, but that was a while back. But again, that was my whole point. It was just it felt weird getting back to an origin story, but I get why they had to because we're now into, depending on whatever happens with Endgame, we're moving forward into a whole new era, new generation, and here we go again. And she is the start of this next phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought there were some really funny bits, like you. I thought Samuel L. Jackson, he always looks like he's enjoying the movies, but this one he looked like he was really, really enjoying this one.
Right.
Oh, that's the CG talking.
And they did some great CG de aging, which I'm sure he's like, man, I look good. It's kind of that whole thing.
That's my favorite movie.
My favorite movie ever. But yeah, I thought Brie Larson did a good job. It was a good intro for her. Nice little message with her. They showed that her powers aren't from her blasty fists, but they come from within. You knock her down, she gets back up again, and that sounded like a Chumbawamba song. 90s. All right.
Yeah.
Did they play that in the movie? Because
No, but they should have during that montage.
Yes, that would have been a great little add-in.
Yeah.
The soundtrack, the '90s soundtrack, I actually enjoyed a bit. Although the Nirvana, while in the super intelligence, was a little
Much.
contrasty. Um, maybe a little out of place, like the term I'm looking for.
But I think it's more that she was exerting her own control over it.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was the point. But you're getting into spoiler territory there.
Non-diegetic music in that. But my one comment on the music was, I thought the music was good and I thought it set the tone well, but I don't think it really was its own character like the music from Guardians was. The music in Guardians, both of them, it felt like its own character within it, and I didn't get that feeling from this, but I still enjoyed it. You know, great music overall.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's a good point. So, like in the Guardians, it felt contextual,
Mhm.
and here it felt tacked on.
Well,
It felt gimmicky.
Or just a soundtrack to a movie.
but
Well,
for the
it felt-
Guardians, they use the songs in the movie.
Yeah,
Like they were part of the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
This was on track.
yeah.
So I understand what you're talking about, but I think there's a little bit of
It's hard to
apples, oranges.
compare them because the way that they were
It
Integrated.
wasn't we putting it on tape and then doing it like Star Lord did.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the kind of change.
Hmm.
Stop defending the movie. I'm just kidding. You can defend it all you want. It's
Well, it's his turn now.
Yeah.
He has the talking stick.
So we all enjoyed it. So do you want to throw up the spoiler graphics so we can
Well,
talk?
but he hasn't had his say in it.
He has.
I thought he
Why are you-
started it.
No,
He did start it,
didn't.
but he didn't.
I
No,
said,
he didn't.
He said
He did
it's-
the intro
it's a-
and then he threw it at me.
He said it's a movie with scenes, and then he tossed it over. He give the man 30 seconds. Damn, patience. My arm is flapping.
I am so sorry. I apologize.
silence.
Move right along. Talking
So-
stick.
In short, I do love Carol Danvers. I love Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, Warbird, Binary, whatever you want to call her. I am down for the character. I think she's really fascinating and interesting. She's been through a hell of a lot through the comics.
Mhm.
A lot. And she's always, like the character in the movie, got back up and dusted herself off and kept on fighting. And that's what you see here. And, there's a lot riding on this movie, being the first solo female Marvel-led movie
Mhm.
ever. So there were some pretty big, bootstraps to fill. And I think they did a very successful job with it. I thought they did a very smart job with the movie and making it stand on its own, delivering an origin story, filling in the gaps, making her make sense within the MCU.
Mhm.
So I think they did a really good job on that, and I really, really appreciated a lot of the touches. There were some things that I'm like, I can forgive, but I know that other people have some more issues with. But for the most part, super hyped. And now we can spoiler on.
Now we
Alright.
can go to spoilers. This is how it works. Everyone talks, and then we go to spoilers.
So you see it right here. We're in spoiler mode. So if you have not seen Captain Marvel, stop this video now, so you won't be.
Or just fast forward it to the point where we aren't talking about spoilers. You don't have to stop it.
Well, no,
You're
they
killing us.
They're supposed to pause it and then
Uh-huh.
go
Watch
watch
the
the movie and then come back and hit play.
Only because I reminded you that there was more to it. Stop the movie, walk away. Just shun technology. Become Amish.
Yeah.
I'm just looking out for you, buddy.
So
All right.
let's see. Start the film off with her memory, nightmare, dream, and she wakes up on Hala. Which is
Holla!
Hala! Kree homeworld.
Greenhouse.
Yeah. And then you're quickly introduced to Jan Rog, who is her captain trainer, superior in the Star Force, which is a pretty fun little fight sequence between the two of them training sesh, which is kind of cool.
So she was up, woken from her nightmare, and woke him up, and then decided to go train. There's other people training too. Are they all having nightmares, or
They just like to rise up early and
and fight?
and-
Yeah.
I mean, it's Kree. They may only sleep for 2 hours, or it's we don't really know their sleep
Yeah.
patterns.
Well, now I want to know. I thought you might have the answers. You guys know the background a little bit better than I.
And then you have them wanting to go talk to the Supreme Intelligence because she's has no memory of her life from 6 years before. So that's kind of the conceit. There was an event that happened. She doesn't remember her life, and she just accepted that she's part of the Kree. And so she goes to see the Supreme Intelligence, which is the extreme, most malevolent leader of the Kree. And in the comics, it's this big, huge green head with
Yeah.
happening up on it. But we gotta adapt that for the movie-going public. And I thought they did a pretty smart job with the way that they kind of eased it into you see who you want to see, which is, I think, an easy way for people to understand their god or whomever. You see who you want to see.
It's like the Contact effect. Like
Yeah.
Jodie Foster, the aliens contact her, is like, you can't comprehend what we are, so I'm going to appear as your father.
Yeah.
Which, talking about the big change from the obviously I'm a villain, giant, ugly green head that it was before, this allowed the movie to play that who's the bad guy here card.
Yeah.
By not projecting, oh, this is obviously a giant evil entity I'm speaking.
Truth. Yeah.
Oh, don't mind me, my battery's running low. You don't want me to disappear.
We just got you here.
Although
I know.
We've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, so at this point we do know that there are Kree who are not very nice people.
True.
That is true.
But that's also 20 years later, or 20 plus years later.
Right. That's true. It's in the future, so a lot can have changed.
But I mean, there's bad guys, and now they're good guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to nitpick just a little.
Okay, I'm back.
Goose.
Mm-hmm.
Goose is the reason that Nick Fury wears an eye patch. That's the big twist.
Secret.
In the cinematic universe.
Yeah, I know, but that's what they wanted to introduce into the world. Because more people are watching the movies than reading the comics. So they're going to assume that's the...
I mean, have you ever had something happen to you like, oh my god, I can't tell people this is what really happened, so I say this is the real reason that happened?
Yeah, I got this scar in a knife fight when really you were cutting ribbons.
You're embarrassed by it.
Yeah.
And that's what it is in this case. They felt like, and plus it's getting to, we're nearing the end of Phase 3, so Marvel felt like they needed to go ahead and reveal that rather than just keeping it a mystery for forever.
Yeah.
It was kind of a groaner, but it was kind of funny.
Funny, yes, but yeah.
Yeah, that was like, it's like, oh, that's kind of clever. Then I was like, oh, kind of stupid.
I kind of don't, because it was like, oh, he got scratched, and I was like, no, that's not how they're gonna do this. That's not, and then it's like, yeah, they are.
Yeah, it is.
And this Flurkin, devour the cosmic cube. You see it devour like 3 Kree people.
Yeah.
Like, up to his face. No, I'm gonna put that cat.
And everyone else's reaction to it.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're gonna have to contain that. Yeah.
He really likes that cat.
Yeah, he's just a cat person. That's just it.
Yeah.
Was a cat person.
Right. Well,
no, he kept the cat. He's still.
Oh, that's true.
Still presently a cat person.
Yeah.
Oh, that was my other gripe. I'm gonna skip right to the after credits scene.
Mm-hmm.
Those are a lot of credits to sit through for that shit.
For a gag.
Yeah.
Well, there was another scene that they filmed, but they didn't use.
Oh, really?
Did he shit it out instead?
No, it was Jan Rog landing on Sakaar.
Oh.
Instead of the Kree homeworld.
Give us that!
Oh, on a rickety thing, kind of just flip-flopping and falls on the planet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, I'm sorry. I was offended.
I don't know. I didn't know how I felt about Jan Rog as being the big bad of this movie. I mean, they brought Ronan back, and of course he's like, yeah, I guess we're going to have to take care of that later. I'm going to do great things. It's like, no, you're not. Well, but then Jan Rog, it's like, his whole thing was yes, I lied to you. Stop being so emotional. Stop being so emotional. You're a woman. And I was like, when she finally just blasted him, I was like, thank you. Shut him up. Just please
Right.
make him go away.
I mean, it got into the point where it was back to the flimsy villain reasoning. You know, they've done so well with Black Panther and with Thanos, and getting well developed villains, and then this two-dimensional gone wrong, and it's like a letdown. And I feel there was a lot more with Ronan that got cut.
Right.
I guess that's it. That's kind of a waste.
Yeah, it felt like it was really just more of a tip of the hat. Like, look, universe building.
Yeah, glorified cameo.
Yeah.
Off, but
yeah, they definitely missed an opportunity to kind of get something to where it would be the catalyst for Ronan to really be the accuser and go down that dark path. And with Jan, I understood that he was just following. He's a soldier. He follows the Supreme Intelligence's orders, and so that's what the Supreme Intelligence told him to do.
Yeah.
This is what we need to do.
But I have to agree with Baltimore. It's like, we get some interesting and complex villains with Killmonger, and we get Thanos, and then we get stop being so emotional. And I was just like, oh, that's the best you can do.
Yeah. I loved her line, though. I don't have to prove anything to you.
Right.
It's like, perfect. That's it. Exactly. Yep. But I thought what was really great was the introduction to the Skrulls. And the whole, knowing the comics, the Kree and Skrull have been locked in a generations-long war against each other. And this film kind of plays that up, and you see that it's been 100 and something days since the last Skrull sighting or invasion or attack. So you see that kind of ideologue and that political message about Skrulls of
propaganda.
The bad thing. Yeah, propaganda. Thank you. And it's interesting to see that play out in the movie in a way that's unexpected, which I really did appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. Same here.
You hear the Skrulls, you hear, okay, secret invasion. And that's where your mind goes, because, they mine the comics for everything.
Right.
And I'm glad that we didn't get, that kind of thing coming off, because that's kind of what you were expecting. So to kind of turn it on its ear was
yeah, and I did appreciate that switch, the tonal switch of who's the hero, who's the bad guy in this.
Yes.
And, I thought they might have played. What was the main Skrull guy's name? Yard or who? Talos.
Talos.
Yeah, General Talos.
Little too comical, but it made him, I guess, humanize them a bit and made him feel more like a sympathetic, someone you can relate to type character. He was funny though.
With their Australian accents.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like Rhys Darby who played him or something.
Yeah, I had to actually go back and kind of do some research after I watched the movie because Baltimore, my knowledge of the Skrulls within the vast of the comics that I've read is about 90% of the time they're bad. But there have been storylines. There's about 10% of all of Marvel's content that is about the Skrulls. There is that 10% there where they do have redeeming characters.
Elijah and Fantastic Four.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So there is good in that race of beings, but they just never. It's few and far between using that characterization for that particular race. So for me, it was refreshing to see that, and to say, okay, yeah, this is 20 years ago. I'm okay with later on, whether it's phase 5, 6, 9, whatever, that maybe they do secret invasion. Totally accepting that now that I've been given this.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. one thing I really super appreciated about this film is that there was no love interest.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't tack that on. It would have been super unnecessary,
Yeah,
as you saw.
where would it even fit in for her in her character arc at this point?
Yeah.
Well,
You know?
I know how some idiots in Hollywood would have written it. That Jude Law guy and her,
Yeah,
and then there's that whole conflict of I like him, but I have to fight him. You know that they could have done something stupid like that.
yeah, and I almost thought they were going that direction because their fighting seemed a little flirty.
Right.
But as it progressed, it's like, okay, no, that was just friendly and not necessarily flirty.
Yeah.
Which I get confused sometimes. Which
And
is which?
And I'm going to be the lone voice. I'm going to say you're all wrong because you are all not recognizing the greatest love story in that film between Nick Fury and his kitty. How can you miss this? This was like the greatest thing ever. He closes his eyes out. He's still hanging with him.
It's
It's
flirty.
all good. That's love. You know,
Um, but I think the real
I
heart.
can't argue with that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I think the real heart of the story is Maria and Carol.
Mm-hmm.
Their friendship. The moment when Maria's talking about, you know what's hard? Hard is losing your best friend, not knowing why, telling you that it's a secret. That that scene with her, I thought was amazing because yes, that's exactly what it would be like. They were so close, they were so inseparable, and then to be not told what happened. I mean, to have all this secrecy shrouded about it is devastating, and you see that, and I thought that was really perfect.
And then to have her not remember you when you do see her again, it's like, okay, I've suffered. I've done all this suffering on your behalf. You don't know who I am.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that gets you right in the feels.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of leads me to my next little pet peeve.
Okay.
The daughter, Rambo's daughter,
Mm-hmm.
took to how to control the colors on the outfit way too cool. That's alien technology.
Well, what's color coded?
But you know what? At the
No,
same
she was just, and then like, oh look, colors.
But how easy is it for kids to learn how to do apps on the phone?
Oh, very good point. There are
You know?
toddlers who are opening up phones and
Right. Yeah. So
yeah.
that didn't bother me so much.
Exposure to technology makes you more apt to be,
Although I really didn't enjoy the logic behind Maria just leaving and going off to space because you have a kid.
Yeah.
That bothered me. I loved her seeing there and taking, being a strong character. But I was just like, you could have left your child parentless. That's
Yep. Yeah, I had a huge problem with that. That was one of them. It's like,
But I
Well,
love, I love Monica as a character. I love the potential
mm-hmm.
that could be there for maybe Endgame, but for sure the sequel.
Right.
As in the comics, Monica Rambeau was actually the first female Captain Marvel. She was the first Black Captain Marvel, the only Black Captain Marvel. Amazing character, created in the I think 82 or 83, and she was actually a leader of the Avengers for quite a while.
Right.
Kind of floated to obscurity. But I love the character, and I love the potential that's going to be there.
Yeah, with her and her daughter.
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah.
But, we are in spoiler territory, so we can talk about that kind of stuff.
Very true.
Now, I will talk about one nitpick that I had with this, and it's because I am such a dear old school Captain Marvel fan that Marvel. I didn't want Annette Bening as Marvel. I wanted my Marvel that I grew up with. I wanted to see a silver-haired dude who, does whatever it takes to sacrifice. The death of Captain Marvel, the comic that came out in 1980, is the cover is so impactful, and it's really why I bought it, and then pouring over it and reading it and just the sacrifice they made, and they have not brought him back. Of all the characters that
But
Marvel
not him.
has brought back, Marvel, the true Marvel, has never been brought back, and I mean it shows there's a lot to that.
And I guess that was it's not really nitpick, but what I felt the movie lacked, and why this is a good movie and see it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll enjoy yourself. I never felt their connection,
Right.
like
No.
her as even in a mentor capacity. Uh, I think they needed more scenes structured. Uh,
Yeah.
Once her memories came back to solidify more than just the woman who kind of gave her chance, but that it's so that there's a relationship there between them that is so powerful that even after her mind scramble thing, like her subconscious, she's who's still coming through.
Right.
Right.
I didn't feel that they built that
No,
foundation quite
there
enough.
there really wasn't a lot of change between amnesiac Vers and fully mentally restored Carol. They felt like the same character overall. It didn't seem like there was that big aha moment where everything kind of came flooding back. They gave us, the audience, that at the very beginning of the movie in this little tiny montage, but I don't feel she had that moment.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that, and I believe me, I love the death of Captain Marvel. I love the original Captain Marvel stories.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there were scenes that were not in the movie that would have helped solidify their relationship, make it stronger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with it being Annette Bening. I thought it was a nice switch. It didn't hurt me.
I have no problem with it being Annette Bening. I just don't think they developed that relationship.
No.
I think that they could have done more to it. But with the little space that they had, I did feel that it was almost there.
Mm.
And
And
because I know the comics, I kind of fill in my own gaps
Mm-hmm.
in the in between scenes or whatever. But I thought that Switch was interesting and worked for what the movie needed it to be. Because I don't,
or is it just me?
everyone was kind of expecting Jude Law to be Marvel, and I'm glad he wasn't. And interestingly enough, they were still trying to cast for a male Captain Marvel when they realized they should just use Annette Bening.
Mm-hmm.
She's who she sees as the Supreme Intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
and then they kind of worked it into making her Marvel, which I think ended up cleaning it up a little bit, uncomplicating it in a ways.
Mm.
But I do understand your concern, Danny. I do. I get it.
Yeah,
I do.
because it also ruined the for me it ruined the whole. They changed her origin of how she gets her powers,
Mm.
and transferred it rather than it being Marvel, it's the Tesseract.
An engine blows up in her face, essentially.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's the core of the engine that's powered by the
Their power.
Tesseract.
Not the stone there.
Hmm?
Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch didn't get their powers from the stone, and now Captain Marvel got her powers. So they have to change it for the movies.
Mm.
It's an unfortunate,
Some
thing.
weird retcons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a thing I had a nitpick about. It's like I don't think they necessarily had to tell him that her power came from the Tesseract.
Everything's connected, Marvel.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess.
Well,
so.
should we
Get
talk
your
about that
pencil
intro
out.
change?
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about the gut punch. I guess is what I need to go back and watch it again. Like time when the movie starts, does this beat up for the amount of seconds it takes you to cry?
Right? It's like, let's get them emotionally invested in 3,
3,
2,
2, 1,
1.
boom.
You're in.
Yeah.
You're hooked.
Because
Grab your heart. We got you.
Because there have been a couple Marvel movies that have released since Stan Lee passed, but they weren't like MCU movies. I mean, there was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Venom, and Once Upon a Deadpool,
Right.
and they all did their own tributes. But this
Wow.
led in without heroes. They had him as the hero all the way through the Marvel transition.
Yeah,
Which-
so the animated Marvel logo, where you're kind of swooping through and seeing all the panels of
Mhm.
all the different heroes and stuff, has all been replaced. Stan Lee,
And the
With
cameo.
all his cameos.
all his cameos,
Yep.
And
and
let's talk about. I mean, that it was beautifully moving, a wonderful tribute to Stan Lee,
Hmm.
and a great way to. I mean, I assume it's going to be at least through the next two movies that they release this year, possibly next year. We don't know, but I thought that was really, really beautiful way to honor.
Absolutely.
And he had a fun cameo in this as well. Although, as I was saying the other day, I think it has kind of broken Marvel because the whole scene was Captain Marvel's walking by, sees Stan reading a script. It turns out to be Mallrats, and that was just a really nice little thing. But I think the thing that kind of broke it for me, so to speak, because he talks about Fantastic Four and the X-Men and all these other characters that that existed in the 95 film, but they didn't exist until 2008 in the MCU. It's like that's when Iron Man came around, and Spider-Man and Hulk, and I mean, progressively since. I think the only person that would have been around at that point would be Captain America. So
The '90s movie version.
yeah, the 95 version of Stan Lee and Captain Marvel wouldn't be able to reference like, or how would he know about X-Men or Fantastic Four or anyone else? When Brody is talking about all their genitalia sizes. It was fun. It was fun. It wasn't bad. It was like, but
Wait, I
how can
thought-
you do that? They don't exist. You know
Wait.
what I'm talking about? When
What?
Brody's asking about what is things genitalia rocky like the rest of them, how would that even be a thing? No
In the
pun intended.
comics.
he's
Yeah,
referring to the
comics.
comics. He's not referring to the movies.
No.
Yeah.
Saying the comics have to have been there to be made into movies.
Yeah.
So this is positing that Stan Lee has actually written about superheroes that are going to be translated into screen for the MCU within the universe.
A comic book Iron Man in 1995, but Tony Stark becomes Iron Man in 2008, sort of thing.
You're not getting me.
Yeah, I'm not following the logic.
To me, I just thought Brody was talking about comic books that he read, and that was it.
Well, but all the Marvel characters already know.
I guess I'm lost. Are you talking about Mallrats right now, or a scene from Captain Marvel?
It's a scene from Captain Marvel, but well, kind of both. It's like I'm not gonna like get too crazy, but Mallrats, that scene where Brody talks to Stan Lee
Yeah.
about all the characters. Stan Lee's reading the Mallrats script in Captain Marvel in '95.
Right.
So
Right.
that's okay. So all that's going on in '95,
Mm-hmm.
but how would Stan Lee or anyone else know about those characters like existing in this world, because they didn't really start existing until
I hear what you're
2008
saying.
from
I
the
hear what you're
origins.
saying. I hear what you're saying because
Okay.
those comic books don't exist in the MCU.
Oh, okay.
Because those characters don't exist until like 13 years later.
Right. There's not going to be any
Right.
comic books written about them because they're real. They're not fictional characters.
Right. So how is he cameo? Well, is it? It's of course it's just a fun nod to Stan
I know.
Lee, but when you start deciphering it like
Thinking
that,
of it,
it's
yeah.
like
Well, we don't know what kind of version this Mallrats is.
exactly.
It doesn't have to be our version. We don't exist, right?
So
That's
now there has to
true.
be an MCU version of Mallrats released.
Yes, Kevin Smith, get on that pronto. After
Right now.
you're done with what you're working on right now.
Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Yes.
that That could be kind of fun. The MCU has entirely different versions of movies that we've seen.
Exactly. I mean, just
I want to see them now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think overall, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great film that set up, the next, sort of phase of Marvel that we're going to see in the MCU. Obviously, she's going to return very shortly in Avengers Endgame.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be very exciting to see how she kind of plays out with the other Avengers.
Thor likes her apparently.
Oh, sure. I mean, why
From
not?
The in-game trailer that dropped. So yeah.
Yeah. But it was a really fun film. I thought they did a great job balancing a strong female character, first solo MCU film character. And that was a really great job. And I can't wait to see more Captain Marvel.
Yep.
That's right.
I am too. I agree. It's a good movie. Go see it. Don't let anything you hear on the internet of trolls and all just the stupid cesspool of humanity stuff that's going on. Go enjoy a movie. Go enjoy a movie about a superhero.
And that's all it should be.
Yes. And we won't get to the politics of it, but just don't let the politics that I'm sure have flooded your social media get in the way from going and just enjoy.
Yeah.
And my thing is this: I'm glad that we're actually getting superhero movies like Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman, as opposed to older films like we got like Elektra or Catwoman or even Supergirl, which was sponsored by Popeye's Chicken.
Mm-hmm.
So at least we're getting a nice step up where it's like, okay, the female-led superhero movies are as good and they are much stronger and contribute something to the larger story, like they should.
Yeah.
And yay, finally. It took forever, but we finally got there.
Yep.
Yeah. And then I would like to say I think they did a really great job of honoring some of the creators. And one of those blink and you'll miss it moments when Carol is walking out of the subway station, there's a redhead with like a bangs and glasses that walks towards her and gives her kind of a look. That's Kelly Sue DeConnick, who created the Captain Marvel persona when she changed from Miss Marvel in the bathing suit and the lightning strike to this. So she's responsible for a lot of the story material, the higher, faster, further logo, mantra. That's a lot of what was helped base this film off of, and she was a contributing writer, supervisor on the film. So I thought that was a really nice way to kind of honor.
Oh, that's very awesome.
Absolutely, that's a nice little cameo in there. Yeah.
Now, I wonder if they'll work in the younger Miss Marvel with that stretchy armed.
Kevin Feige, whatever.
Feige.
I think it's Feige.
Yeah.
He's talked about Miss Marvel, the Muslim character, being a part of the second one, and Bree's also talked about her as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Because she's one I haven't read a lot about, but they have the animated series, and so I've
popular. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was watching it. It's okay. She's a cool character. Curious if they can bring her to light because she'll run into the same problems that Mr. Fantastic did. That big stretchy arms look silly as hell.
Right.
So now that Disney is driving the ship, I'm curious if everyone's with Fantastic Four, but any superhero who's stretchy, to make it palatable. Because on the page it's fun. It's just art and lines, and like I've been reading the Terrifics and seeing all the Plastic Man and stuff, and it's beautiful on the page. But it's like, man, live action, it would be hokey. Matter, you can't get away from hokiness.
Right.
So I'm very curious how they'll pull that off.
And CGI has gotten a lot better for the most part than when the Fantastic Four movies came out. All three iterations. So I think there's some hope there.
Yeah, we'd be getting better at this point.
But go see Captain Marvel. Go support. And that's it from us. We'll be back soon with some more, good reviews for you. And as always, it's all geek to us.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Higher, faster, further, more.
Just like that
Avenge! Oh, the Avengers. What did you guys think really quick about where the term Avengers came from? The Avengers Initiative.
Yeah, that's clever.
Yeah, okay.
Put it in there.
I just said
At
that's
the end.
nobody brought it up. I just wondered if you had any thoughts. Okay. Good night, everybody.